Hello all, this is JC3 from Is This Real? Do you want to start your own podcast? Then look no further than Buzzsprout.com. We here at Green Hour Media use Buzzsprout, and we love the team at Buzzsprout. They are all about helping you succeed. Buzzsprout gets your show listed in every major podcast platform. Follow the link in our show notes to let Buzzsprout know that we sent you. It gets you a $20 paid Amazon gift card if you sign up with a paid plan and helps support our show. Join us and over 100,000 podcasters already using Buzzsprout.com to get your message out to the world.
Live from the Keith Vincent KO Studios in Paterson, New Jersey, Green Hour Media presents Is This Real? Tonight's episode, Werewolves and Vampires. Are they real? Joey, take us into it.
Welcome, everybody. Thanks again for that illustrious intro, Dad. As usual, we have the cast of characters here. We got Roblox.
Yo, what's going on?
West, Mr. West.
Oh, konbawa, bitches.
And, of course, Dad's here, and I'm Joe, as usual. This week, as you said, Dad, we're doing werewolves / vampires. And the reason I put this in the schedule is together because I think these two go hand in hand in the lore of the paranormal, in the lore of freaky shit, in the lore of just animals, creepy animals, or what you want to call it, not animals, but like monsters. Yeah. Because I think they do really go hand in hand. If you look at pop culture and just if you read the lores, there's always some type of connection between werewolves and vampires.
Actually, fun fact, Joey, because I looked it up a little bit earlier. I don't know if you guys know this either, but prior to the 19th century, there actually was no connection whatsoever for vampires and werewolves. Mm-hmm. It wasn't until till the late 19th century that Greeks, for whatever reason, believed that the corpses of werewolves, if they were not fully destroyed, would somehow come back, return to life, and become a vampire, and then that's how they would gain the ability to transform into other animals, such as, well, wolves, hyenas, bats, such and such. So that's actually a fun fact that before that, there was no connection, and as Joey just said, in modern culture, there's a big connection with these two.
Yeah, I going forward with this, on the werewolf end of it, it has gone back centuries, but there's also the technical term for that would be lycanthropy, and what that is your body transforms into a wolf. The legend is around midnight, a full moon, whatever. Where this could actually be traced back to demonic possession, because what happens was certain persons that were possessed would distort themselves in such a way that they would grow facial hair. They would look like they're walking on all fours. They would act as if they were an animal. And then you couple that as years go by with other different strange diseases and stuff that they found out that, why there's a disease out there that you can grow hair and it gets crazy. But I believe early on that's where this all had started. And of course, primitive man doesn't know this. They know, there's, like you just said, this could be from this could be from that. But the demonic aspect, in fact, there was a great book written by Ed and Lorraine Warren. Who else? It was just called Werewolf. In fact, it's sitting right up there. And it actually it details a guy out in London who went right for that. His body transformed into a wolf-like creature, and nobody could make out what was going on. But he was possessed by a demon, and it took a long time to exorcise him and get him out and get that demon out of him or whatever. And then, that's basically where it would start from that aspect of it.
Yeah, werewolves go back, like, in the mythology
so then is a werewolf
years.
a demon at that point?
Hmm?
So then is a werewolf a demon at that point?
Well, that's how it originally started. Now,
yeah, like I have right now.
Again, like everything else, it actually
formed into other things. So, like right now, I have the Indo-European comparative mythology, and it says in this, that such transformations of men into wolves in pagan cult were associated with the devil from the early medieval perspective.
Mm-hmm. That pagan shit.
Yeah, pagans had a lot to do with a lot of things we talk about. The concept of the werewolf in Western and Northern Europe is strongly influenced by the role of the wolf in the Germanic paganism. But there are relative traditions in other parts of Europe which were not necessarily influenced by Germanic traditions, especially in the Slavic Europe and the Balkans. And possibly in areas bordering the Indo-European sphere, the Caucasus, or where the Caucasians come from, cultures have been replaced by military conquests in medieval Hungary. In his Man into Wolf, Robert Essler tried to cast the Indo-European tribal names meaning wolf or wolf men in the terms of the European tradition or transition from fruit gathering to predatory hunting. So there's a deep culture with the werewolves. There's the ancient there's men into wolves in the ancient Greek literature. The Greek geographer Panzanier, I can't pronounce his name, related the story of King Lycan of Arcadia, who was transformed into a wolf because he had sacrificed a child in the altar of Zeus Lacharis.
So what would that be? That's a Greek god, isn't it?
That's what I'm saying. In the ancient Greek literature. Another one is Herodotus. I can't pronounce these Greek god names. I'm sorry to the Greek people. I apologize for completely botching these names. But in his histories, he wrote that Neri, a tribe he places in the northeast of Scythia, were all transformed into wolves once every year for several days and then changed back into the human shape. This tale was also mentioned by Pompeius Malaya. Again, there's a lot the werewolf in general. There's a lot that goes back years. You're talking about years of.
I think it's the original shapeshifter myself. I really do. If this creature does exist now, and it seems to be always happening in Germany for some reason. They have one here called the Bedburg werewolf.
Yeah, I'm reading that right now.
Yeah, so. Peter Stubb, a wealthy 15th century farmer in Bedburg, Germany, maybe the most notorious werewolf of them all, according to folklore. He turned to a wolf-like creature at night and devoured many citizens of Bedburg. He was accused of gruesome killings. People saw him shapeshift from a wolf to a human. He was eating children.
Animals, men, women, and children.
Yeah.
Well, he was savagely killing these animals, men, women, and children, and apparently eating their remains.
Well, see, what bothers me about this though is where is the source? You know what I mean? Like it had to.
It's all folklore at this point.
Yeah,
because it's like imagine that's what 15th, 16th century.
Yeah,
this says the persecution of werewolves and the associated folklore in its integral part of the witch hunt phenomena, albeit a marginal one. Accusers of lycanthropy. I believe that's lycanthropy,
right.
Being involved in only a small fraction of witchcraft trials. So there's a lot of, I guess you would say, it could be origins. You have being bitten, I think, is one. Witchcraft, possession. There's a lot of things that say these are the starts of, a werewolf.
And there's also a thing out there, in 1725, a guy by the name of Peter the Wild Boy was actually kept as a house pet by King George I and King George II, and he lived out his days as their pet in England. They thought I mean, the research was brought up that he might have had Pitt-Hopkins syndrome, a condition discovered in 1978 that causes lack of speech, seizures, distinct facial features, difficulty breathing, and intellectual challenges. And, there's a lot of other causes that could be. Like you said, lycanthropy is not a condition, but what it is, it's a mental condition. It makes you think you're a werewolf. Okay. Food poisoning, hypertrichosis, a rare genetic disorder causing excessive hair growth, rabies, which is really classic, because I don't know if anybody here has seen something that was rabid, a dog.
My homies once got attacked by a rabid squirrel in middle school. That shit was crazy.
And
homie snapped his neck with a stick.
The thing just literally will...
Bro, the thing was freaking... This shit had no fear.
Mm-hmm.
That shit had real...
Sorry, just the way you said homie snapped his neck with a stick. That just... I'm sorry.
I'm
real
glad
interesting.
I didn't hear that. I really am.
Well, real quick before you go on, Joey, I was going to say that is something that I think can contribute to the whole werewolf lore, or mistaking people mistaking people for werewolves.
Right.
Is actually what you just said, the hypertrichosis, because no one really knows how far back that goes.
Right.
It's a condition, a syndrome, which makes you rapidly or excessively grow hair all over your body. I mean, come on, how many times have you might have seen, at least in the modern age, at least one or two people that were on, I don't know, maybe Discovery Channel or something like that, who had that syndrome, and they did little tidbit videos about them.
Right.
And if you look at them, like
the world's longest hair or some shit like that.
Yeah, it looks like it could possibly be passed off as a werewolf because it looks human and also looks wolf-like.
Right.
So I think that's a fun little tidbit, at least like scientifically, to throw in there that could be a cause of this lore of werewolves to begin.
Yeah, and I also think too, Josh, what you really hit the nail on the head too. I think that as time goes on, like less and less now, we're hearing more about werewolves. When somebody says werewolf, you're going to get it, like a reading here, it happened in the 16th, 17th, 18th century, whatever. And now people are like, werewolves, come on. It doesn't happen.
It's like, we seen Twilight, bro. Come on.
These are
Do you really
things.
think we're going to take a werewolf serious?
Well, that's a good transition into what the werewolf would be now. It's more of a
pop culture
type thing, because you talk about the modern werewolf,
right.
You think of all these people that played werewolves in these movies. You had the 1940 Universal movies that had
Wolfman, 1939, I think it was. 41.
Who played the Wolfman in that
Lon
movie?
Chaney Jr.
Yeah, you had that, and then you had, basically any of these people that played werewolves, or whatever the werewolves were in supernatural stuff like that. I do have one interesting fact here, which is not about actual werewolves, but it's a code name. So in Nazi Germany, they use the werewolf as the mythical creature's name is spelled in German. It's Werwolf. So Werewolf, which would be in German. In 1942, 1943, as the code name of one of Hitler's headquarters. In the war's final days, the Nazi Operation Werewolf aimed at creating a commando force that would operate behind enemy lines as the Allies advanced through Germany itself. Two fictional depictions of Operation Werewolf, the U.S. television show True Blood, and the 2020 novel Wolf Hunter by J.L. Benet, excuse me, mix the two meanings of werewolf by depicting the 1945 die-hard Nazi commandos as actual werewolves. So that's a fun little tidbit about Nazi Germany, I guess.
I mean, the werewolves,
I guess.
the symbol of the werewolf itself is meant to scare you or to that's it, Joey's done.
Sorry, just the way he looked at me, he was like, I guess?
Well, yeah, I mean, it's crazy. Nobody wants to walk down the street and run to a fucking werewolf.
I certainly wouldn't, bro.
You would just snap its neck with a stick.
Hell no, bro. That's just big as hell.
Well, it depends. But yeah,
if you look, all right, if you transformed into a werewolf, bro, you're a big ass wolf, bro. You're a big dude. You really think you wouldn't be a big ass wolf?
Thank you.
I was not.
Wait a minute. Joey's going to transform into a werewolf?
A werewolf?
A werewolf.
Werewolf.
I hope not.
No, if he transforms into a werewolf, he's going to be a seal. So it'd be totally
the fuck does that mean?
Well, you look like a seal.
Seals aren't hairy. How the fuck?
They are. You ever see a face on a seal? Forget it. I'm too tired for this shit.
Anyway, there's, like I said, you have the Hungary and Balkans, you have the Caucasus, you have the Americans and the Korean. Which is funny, and I didn't want to use this, but I guess you can. Under the American and Caribbean part of the werewolf page, it actually leads you to the Skinwalker page.
Transformer.
So that's a little.
And don't forget, what was the first story last week on that ranch?
The wolf.
The wolf that came across and in their pet and everything else.
Shot.
Right. So, if it's going to transform into something, if it has the power to become a wolf, why not? Whatever. I think it's horse shit. I think it really is. But I can't speak on, the Skinwalker Ranch part of it, because I do believe there's something there. However, this stuff right here, I just think that this lore took off before we
actually sat down and had modern medicine and
modern
science.
We can figure this out.
Yeah, it's just funny how it's all concentrated more into like 16th, 17th century,
right.
Just like it's big in out there in Europe mostly.
Yeah,
no, I get you.
You can't walk that. You can't have your buddy come up to you and say, I think I'm a wolf.
Hey, buddy,
Doesn't
I think
happen.
I'm a werewolf.
Oh, speaking of that, I have another little fun fact for you guys. They're actually, depending on your definition and probably the Urban Dictionary, as they like to say it, there is a difference between a regular the old mythology of werewolf and the term lycan that has been used more recently in pop culture, like in the Underworld movies.
Yeah, but doesn't it have
I
to
forgot about the Underworld.
Doesn't it have to go
honest.
with the how Joey said with the Greek mythology? Because there was I was just reading, there was some guy named Lyacon or something like that.
Yeah,
he pissed off Zeus.
Yeah, it plays to that, but
Zeus supposedly turned his whole family into like wolves or something like that. So.
Well, yeah, it's just that I'm only going for that little fact where it says that the actual difference between what a werewolf and what a lycan, and the term they've been using, I guess, in the past 20 years is that werewolf is just turning into a wolf.
Right.
Like, quite literally, that's how they take it. But they take the word lycan, and they're saying that the difference would be that a lycan can transform into a bigger version of a wolf, not at the time of a full moon, but it can actually have the impulse to turn into it whenever it wants, which makes it stronger and usually stays with a pack, of course, when there's rare cases where they go off on their own. So even with that little detail, you can still see that they do have that old wolf pack mentality. And like I said, it's very rare to go off on their own.
You can see where that woman who wrote who wrote Twilight.
Stephanie Myers.
Well, because basically, when those people turn into werewolves, from what I've seen,
you took the words out of my mouth. I'm like, I hate that I know this, but that would be the Stephanie Myers version of.
And they run in packs.
Yeah,
a werewolf, and I guess that would be the Jacob character. Shut up.
Yeah.
Stop looking at me. They're all looking at me like I'm weird.
No. I sat there in one of them. Trust me, you're not that weird.
It would be her version of the pop culture, and that's why they call them a lycan compared to just a plain werewolf.
And
you could also have
Underworld too, because that's I think that's where a lot of people got it from.
Well, you have also the traditional one that was played in Harry Potter. That was Professor Lupin, who turned into a werewolf during the full moon.
Yeah, you can play it to that probably. I think that can be.
Just to do it into the pop culture aspect.
Yeah, I mean, I think you
forget
can
about
do
your
that.
Harry Potter.
Yeah. So I mean, like I said, there's a lot. Like I said, you have Hungary and the Balkans. You have the Caucasus. You have the American, Koreans, American Caribbeans, not Koreans. There's no Korean werewolves.
How do you know that?
Yeah, not that we know of.
Well, we know out of South Korea. We know nothing from North Korea.
Let's not touch that subject, please. I don't need your brother chiming in.
Block.
From
Look at it. Block. Look it up.
No,
Yeah.
I'm not looking it up.
North Korea is bad Korea. No. Anyway. So you have all these characteristics of double familiar spirits meeting both eyebrows. Apparently, they have to meet both eyebrows to be a werewolf. It's fucking weird. But again, you're talking things from the 19th century, 18th century, 17th century. And when you get to the 20th century, 21st century, it dies down rapidly.
It's like it's watered down at that point.
Yeah,
And it becomes fodder for the movies.
Yep, that's exactly what it is.
That's,
So we're going to take our first merchandise commercial break, ladies and gentlemen, courtesy of your own Mr. West. So we'll be right back, and then once we get back from our break, we'll go right into our vampires. Thank you.
Oh, Eric, look. We are by the water finally. Ah, water. You know what you could put water in?
You know what water goes great in?
What?
My Is This Real coffee mug that you can get on www.greenarrowmedia.org. I'm not gonna drink that.
And welcome back from break. So, we just started talking, we just finished talking, about werewolves. Now, we will go into the vampire.
The vampire?
The vampire. All right, so a vampire is a creature from folklore that subsists by feeding on the vital essence, generally in the form of blood, of the living. In the European folklore, vampires are undead creatures that often visited loved ones and caused mischief or deaths in the neighborhoods that inhabited while they were alive. They wore shrouds and often described as bloated.
That's me. Yeah.
Bro, come on, bro. They wore shrouds and were often described as bloated and ruddy or dark countenance. Wow, I can't read tonight.
Enunciate. Gather your thoughts.
Fuck off. Markedly different from today's gaunt, pale vampire, which dates from the early 19th century. So basically, the original vampires were, not pale. They're more dark. They're bloated, filled with blood. Something like you would see like a tick.
They were ugly.
Yeah, it would be like a tick. That's what, when I think of that, it's a tick or goddamn, what's the one thing that sucks your blood?
A tick?
Mosquito. There you go. I couldn't remember that name. Fuck the both of you. All right.
All right.
And then.
Wow, we're really touchy tonight. Holy
I'm not
shit.
touchy. Leave me alone. I'm just
sensitive.
saying. I'm not sensitive.
He's fat.
What?
All
So,
right,
All right, let me ask you a question.
what?
Who's the most famous vampire of all time?
Well, you want us to say Bela Lugosi.
No.
Dracula
Lugosi was an actor.
Dracula.
Well, Dracula, Nosferatu.
No. What's it called? The actual, like, the guy from Transylvania. Wasn't he, like, the actual, like, a prince or something?
That would be, as most people know it, Vlad the Impaler.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
The original man who.
But again, are you
stems from
talking
history.
about? Are you talking about?
What was that, Josh?
No, never mind. Continue.
I mean, I was enjoying what you were saying before you decided to cut him off.
Before you were rudely interrupted.
I'm going to chew my candy.
I was rudely interrupted because I was in the middle of describing what a vampire is, and then Dad said, "Who's the most famous vampire?"
That's
I'm
not
just
being
trying to add a little life
interrupted. He's asking
here.
a Question.
That's fine, but you have to have backstory before you can talk about pop culture shit. Anyway,
Wait, Vlad the Impaler is not pop culture.
he is pop culture
No,
because
he's
he's
history.
real. He's actually a real guy.
Again, I would get to that if you let me get to the history. But if you guys want to talk about the history, go right a fucking head. I'll stay in the corner and shut up. Go on.
He
I'm not hearing anything.
He impaled people.
I'm not hearing anything.
He
and this is
impaled
all
people.
Yes,
Dead
he
air.
He impaled people.
Nope, I thought he was a florist.
I mean, knowing
Vlad
you,
the florist.
yeah, probably.
We'll be back after a quick break.
Hey, Ryan. Hi, this is Sarah Palin.
Ryan Donald Trump Jr.
Hogs to win seal. Hey, everybody, I want y'all to check out a fellow Marines podcast.
My name is Ted Nugent, and I got a call from my buddy Ryan F. Samuels, and he wants me to tell you that he's a working hard, playing all-American son of a who is celebrating God, family, country.
Welcome to the Ryan Samuels Show, one of the top political podcasts in the United States, where we have a healthy distrust for government and mainstream media. The Ryan Samuels Show is a raw, unfiltered look at American politics.
He wouldn't be called Vlad the Impaler if he sold flowers. I'm sorry.
I mean, hey, you never know what he like to do in his spare time. This nigga like to impale people. Sometimes maybe he like to sniff some flowers on the side. Who knows?
Why would they associate him with being a vampire?
Because he drank his victim's blood.
Ah, okay. I didn't know you got that far. You're not explaining yourself.
Well, you didn't let me get there because I was apparently too fucking boring for you.
Oh God.
Anyway, see, I wasn't even down at the fucking Vlad the Impaler stuff.
All right, we'll wait.
No, go on, Josh, come on, Mr. Fact Checker, go through it.
No, too late now.
No. See, this whole vampire section off the rails. It's done. It's over with. We got through the werewolves, which I thought would be the one that would fuck up, but no. We get to the most important one, just vampires, and everything's downhill from here.
That's
You
because
haven't
there's so
explained
many.
anything.
Yeah, there's so many.
Oh, I know. I got
directions.
something. Back in Europe, they used to freaking nail the coffins and put a stake through them, and if they and they put a cage on top of the coffin.
Yeah, back then they were so afraid of the actual, mythology of vampires and fearing that
Why
they're
are you
real, that
staring
they
at
would
me?
do stuff like that. They would go to that extra extent to make sure none of those motherfuckers would get back up and bite you in the neck.
Yep.
It was very severe back then, I'll tell you that much. But
Listen, in the words of my cousin, if something come out that ground after you did all that, that thing ain't human, buddy. You got bigger things to worry about.
You're gonna break its neck with a stick.
yeah, that probably would happen.
You shouldn't be doing that because they be fucking with some shit and you don't want to do that.
Yeah.
Bro,
You can't be fucking with some shit.
Don't do it.
Well, a quick little tidbit, and then I guess we can let Joey get back to it.
Nope.
Can't even speak right now. Etymology of the word vampire was noted as the first appearance would be in, I believe, English from 1734. It was actually written in a book, Travels of the Three English Gentlemen, that was published in 1745. But there are some people who dictate that the French and German literature actually started talking about vampires prior to that, but there is no actual concrete proof.
Damn white people.
Okay.
So there's a couple. There's a lot of beliefs about the vampires. Like there's a whole list of just different religions and I guess you would call it cultures, ideologies that have their form of a vampire. You have ancient beliefs, which is tales of supernatural beings consume the blood and flesh of the living, have been found nearly in every culture around the world for many centuries. The term vampire did not exist in ancient times. Blood drinking and similar activities were attributed to demons or spirits who would eat flesh and drink blood. Even the devil himself was considered synonymous with the vampire, with a vampire.
Right.
Almost every nation has associated blood drinking with some type of revenant or demon, or in some cases, a deity. In India, for example, tales of Vatalis, ghoulish beings in the that inhabited corpses, have been compiled in the Balte Palsisis, a prominent story in the... I'm not reading that because that's very long and has a lot of lines on top of it. Tells of King... I'm going to just call him King Vic, and his nightly quest to capture an elusive one. Pisaska, the return spirits of evildoers or those who have died insane, almost bear vampiric... I said that word correctly. Attributes. Fuck you. The Persians, which Persia is not a country anymore. The Persians were one of the first civilizations to have tales of blood-drinking demons. Creatures attempting to drink blood from men were depicted on excavated pottery shards. Ancient Babylonian and Assyria had tales of the mythical Lilith, I guess, synonymous with the giving rise to Lilith and her daughters, the Lilu, from Hebrew demonology. She was considered a demon and was often depicted as subsisting on the bloods of babies. An estrus, a female shape-shifting, blood-drinking demon, were said to roam the night among the population seeking victims, according to Sefer Hasidim. Estries were creatures created in the twilight hours before God rested. So there's a whole laundry list of vampiric. He's going to hit me before the night's ended. Vampiric type deities or things that they believed were vampires.
How would they identify a vampire?
So the identifications of a vampire, it's literally
Which I find a little fucking odd. I know how they do it, but I want to...
It's literally, it says identifying vampires. Let's just put it like that. So many rituals were used to identify a vampire. One method of finding a vampire's grave involved leading a virgin boy through a graveyard or church grounds on a virgin stallion. The horse supposedly balked at the grave in question.
A lot of vampires in the church, huh?
Generally, a black horse was required, though in Albanian it should be white. Holes appearing in the earth over a grave were taken as a sign of vampirism. Corpses thought to be vampires are generally described as having a healthier appearance than expected, plump and showing little or no signs of decomposition. In some cases, when suspected graves were open, villagers even described the corpse as having fresh blood from a victim all over its face. Evidence that a vampire was active in a given locality included death of cattle, sheep, relatives, or neighbors. Folkloric vampires could also make their presence felt by engaging in minor poltergeist-style activities, such as hurling stones on roofs or moving household objects, and pressing on people in their sleep. So, to identify a vampire, we have to find a virgin boy
That sounds
on a virgin horse.
That sounds kind of rapey.
And go to the church.
And go through the church. I wonder if this goes back to an episode we had before.
I don't know. Is this
Why?
real?
Oh, why, Jesus? Why is the church always involved? The church always is involved.
Well, go on. I mean, look, how do you protect yourself from a vampire?
You pray.
Well, wait, hold on.
Usually-
There's a protection area, too. So protecting yourself from a vampire, I'll read that right now.
You pray.
This Wikipedia is amazing, isn't it?
Fuck off. Shut up. We're not supported. We're not sponsored. Items able to ward off revenants are commonly in vampire folklore. Garlic. So they can't... No vampire can be Italian.
I was going to ask you that. What about you had an Italian fucking...
Wasn't Bela Lugosi Italian?
No, he was Romanian.
Oh.
I want to suck your blood. Oh, fuck, your seasoning is too much. I will be back.
Oh, okay. No more garlic bread. No, they can't have garlic bread. So a branch of a wild rose and hawthorn are said to harm vampires.
Jersey?
Fuck. God damn it.
Have you ever seen a vampire in Hawthorne?
Nope.
There you go.
And in Europe, sprinkling mustard seeds on the roof of a household was said to keep them away. So any type of... just like with me, vegetables.
Seasoning? Any type of seasoning?
Vegetables, we can't. Nope, it can't. Seasoning or vegetables is good. So I might be a vampire. Holy shit!
You freaking fat man.
Other sacred items, such as a crucifix, rosary, or holy water, can ward off vampires.
Exactly, prayer.
Vampires are said to be unable to walk on consecrated ground.
Huh?
Such as churches or temples,
okay.
or cross-running water, so they can't walk on water.
So let me ask you this much: How come now? Is it true that you can't see a vampire in a mirror? Is that part of this lore?
We'll be back after a quick break.
Hello, nerds. Come listen to the History Nerds United podcast, and let's make history fun again. We interview today's best authors, whether they are established Pulitzer Prize winners or someone debuting their first book. Let us show you that history is not a boring class you took in high school, but a place where the best stories come from. And we don't just cover history, we also love to chat about true crime, biographies, memoirs, and so much more. So head on over to History Nerds United and let us introduce you to your new favorite book and learn the story behind the story.
History Nerds United.
I think that was more for... I haven't read anything so far.
Isn't that like pop culture
Yeah,
stuff?
I think that's more of pop culture-ish type thing. Like I haven't got down to the pop culture. Like there's an African werewolf, an African vampire, like lore and African culture about vampires. The Americas, the Lugaroo apparently is a vampire. The Lugaroo. That's mixed with French and African voodoo. In Asia, there's a Japanese cinema. They've appeared in Japanese cinema since the 50s. Again, you have the modern beliefs.
I really think that is more of just like a film thing.
The Mirror?
Yeah, to add to like the mysteries of vampires. Because there really is nothing to sit there and say like, oh, well, we can't see the reflection, so that's how we know we're the vampire. I mean, you got to sit there and friggin' do your homework. How long have mirrors been around?
Right.
And then you got to look before that. If, you know, the mythology stems before the invention of mirrors, then you're like, okay, well, everyone's either screwed or going to be extremely fucking paranoid.
See, what I got now is a difference between what we talked about earlier. You know, with the werewolf, you had everything back in the, you know, really the, you know, post-modern time. You had the old days. And nowadays, you don't really see anybody walking around and saying, I'm a vampire. However, nowadays, there are a subculture that believe they are vampires.
And that's only, but with the subculture, that's only because of how popular in pop culture.
Yeah, but they truly believe it. How they got to believing it doesn't matter. They actually believe it. They'll dress as a vampire.
Oh, I know
Some
that.
people sleep in coffins. Some people will, they keep blood in the refrigerator. It sounds fucked up, but they're doing it. And now that doesn't make them a real vampire. But the point I'm making is they actually
believe.
Yeah, they believe in this, where you don't get anybody walking around putting on like a fuzzy costume and go, I'm a fucking werewolf.
Well, this could also be. You remember when we talked about the hotel,
the Cecil?
The Cecil,
Yeah.
And we talked about you could have like copycats or anything like that happen. So the psychopathy about vampires and copycats, stuff like that. So it said a number of murderers have performed seemingly vampiric rituals upon their victims. Serial killers Peter Curtin and Richard Trenton Chase were both called vampires in the tabloids after they were discovered drinking the blood of the people they murdered. Similarly, in 1932, an unsolved murder case in Stockholm, Sweden, was nicknamed the vampire murder because of the circumstances of the victim's death. Mm-hmm. In the late 16th century, Hungarian countess and mass murderess Elizabeth Bathory became particularly infamous in later centuries' work, which depicted her bathing in her victim's blood in order to retain beauty or youth. So it could that could play a factor into people believing they are vampires, right? Because again, it could be just like copycat shit. Because when you think about like at least vampires in like all people, there's a big culture of them that believe that they're type of mostly from the movies,
right?
And you know, obviously what you thought was a vampire in the movies 50 years ago is completely different now. Like
absolutely.
Again, we'll go back to
in the sun.
Yeah,
now.
we'll go back in Twilight. Twilight completely flipped what a vampire is, and you know,
right.
Like no vampires now turn into bats like Bela Lugosi did,
right?
In the movies, you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. They have symbols of bats, but that's you're not seeing that happen in today's pop culture.
Mm-hmm.
They're out in daylight, like.
Yeah, they're out in daylight. They're not in castles.
Right, but they're also very pale too, like the Twilight.
But they shine in the sun.
Right.
You know,
they turn into a disco ball.
Yeah, exactly. They turn into a disco ball. It's the modern day vampire and even the modern day werewolf compared to what it was 50 years ago in pop culture is completely different.
That's why I can't believe any of it. That's why I personally think that, again, it was folklore then. It's folklore. It makes for a great movie. And yeah, you get some nitwits who want to parade around as I'm the star of the movie and I'm now a vampire because I saw, what was that guy's name? The lead, the actor in the Thomas Pat, whatever.
I have no idea what you're talking about.
You know, these guys. Everybody takes to extremes. So that's
Patterson?
why Robert Patterson. Yeah,
Pattinson. Sorry.
So that's why I believe.
I don't want to go into a tangent, but Robert Pattinson got typecast because of that movie, but he's actually like a really good actor.
Well, I don't know about that. I mean, typecast better than not cast. You know, think about it.
You're right, but you know, you don't want to be typecast into something your entire life. But anyway, that's a whole different subject.
Yeah.
But like, there's so much. You know, how many times have we seen the vampire or the Dracula movies redone?
Oh,
so you can't count on one hand how many times you've seen. You know, and again, it all goes back to Vlad.
I was about to say, actually, that is true. But me personally, I'll try to go this really quickly. My favorite one, and I was technically going to ask this as a question, like for you guys, what's your favorite like Dracula movie or whatever? I know, Dad, you probably prefer some of the old, original.
My favorite movie of all time is 1931, Bela Lugosi Dracula. To me, it's got everything in it. It's got every ounce of horror and very early special effects that were campy, but they worked. You know, and yeah, I do believe.
See, it's funny for me. I'll go with Bela Lugosi too, but I'm not going to go with the horror of Bela Lugosi. I'm going to go with Abbott and Costello meets Dracula,
which he played the same character. Yeah.
I love that movie. It's one of my favorite Abbott and Costello movies of all time.
Oh,
and I could sit there and just watch that movie over and over and over again.
What about you, Eric? Real quick before I get to mine, you have like a favorite vampire movie?
Nah.
All right, moving on.
Thank you, man of little words.
Thank you, Eric.
Mr. West, Mr. West.
For me, I actually do really prefer one, and probably not to go on to a tangent, but it is called Dracula Untold. It was released in 2014, and it was starring Luke Evans. The reason why I actually like that one is because they blended myth and actual factual history together in that movie. And if you pay attention, I personally think it was really well done because it goes back to Vlad the Impaler, which a lot of people attribute that to being the start of the actual Dracula in Transylvania trend, because Vlad was a king at one point. He was the second son of Vlad Dracul and the ruler of Wallachia in 1436. Now, this movie actually basically pays complete homage to that. Like, it starts off with him, Luke Evans, portraying Vlad the Third, and he already is back in his country. He has his wife, he has his son, and he's ruling his country in peace. However, the man who raised him, I believe, was from the Persian army. I'm a little sketchy on the details because I know they did change a little bit of details in the movie. But like, his son comes back and tells Vlad, they were basically considered brothers at that point. Well, now I need boys from your kingdom to be recruited into my army because I'm going further, I think it was west, in order to conquer more of the world. Like, that's basically how the movie starts, which pays a lot of tribute to actual history. And I think that, to me, was amazing, which is why I actually did kind of like and look forward to this vampire segment because of stuff like that. Because at that point, like I said, you're mixing both actual fact, history, and mythology in one to portray a story, and I think it came out really well. Not a lot of people will agree with me because it wasn't as big of a hit as you.
Oh yeah, I was about to say, unfortunately, that movie.
I like Van Helsing.
Yeah.
But see, that movie,
those are more action packed though. Like, I get why people like them, but for me, being a bit of a history buff and liking actual, factual history, I think that was like phenomenal in my eyes.
All right, before we get to our break, just a little thing. That movie unfortunately flopped, along with the reboot of The Mummy, which again flopped. Yep. Those two movies are supposed to be the reboot to the Universal monster movies, as they, the Mummy, Dracula, The Invisible Man, which was supposed to be Johnny Depp, which I thought would have been fucking brilliant.
I mean, I know this is not part of the subject matter, but I don't care what they do. They can make movies, like you were just saying, Josh, that can take it into a different level, and that's fine. And it could also be a very good movie, but they got to stop trying to replace
The originals.
The originals.
Yeah,
You're not
I get you.
the Universal monsters took the myth and they ran with it. Everything about him is mythological. The Invisible Man, Dracula, and the reason why Dracula works so well because it was such a dark movie, and they actually filmed that twice. They filmed the first one in English, and I forgot the guy's name. Like I got the box set over there, and they actually got both movies, and they did the second one in Spanish. And if you watch the second one, he's very, very good. I don't forgot who the actor's name is.
No. Él es muy bien, muy bueno.
Thank you.
I think I fucked that up.
Well, muchas gracias to you too. Anyway.
Tengo un gato en mis pantalones.
I don't swear at me, motherfucker.
And I just had flashbacks.
Something about his pants.
Thanks, Eric.
No, but it's the reason this is all way off base, but the reason I think those movies worked was because of the time period in which the movie was created.
Yeah, people actually believe that stuff.
Yeah.
And these were coming along at a time like that,
Yeah.
So nowadays, because of pop culture, I think we've mentioned it once before. It was just, movie studios just shitting out movie after movie after movie after movie.
Why haven't we brought up the Grimm Tales though?
You want to bring them up?
Do you want to bring them up?
I mean, don't they have like folklore stories of like werewolves and like vampires and shit like that?
None that I've read in here so far.
I thought that was like the original. No, that's Little Red Riding Hood. Ignore that, folks.
Thank you. That's not a werewolf.
Okay, Eric.
That's just a wolf. Okay, so we're gonna go to our break now.
Please.
Yeah, we're gonna go to our sponsor. So we'll be right back, and we'll answer the question of if we think these are real or not. Are you looking for a vinyl LP or cassette tape? 45 RPM? If so, you've come to the right place. Golden Spins. We have thousands of titles in stock and ready to ship. Call us at 862-336-2275 or go to our store at discogs.com/seller/goldenspins/profile. We can find whatever you may need. We proudly accept PayPal and every major credit card. Welcome back from break. So tonight's episode, we talked about vampires, we talked about werewolves, and we talked about the origins in which these subject matters are creatures or deities, whatever the fuck you want to call them.
And things.
Yes, thank you.
Monsters.
The origins and pop culture and modern culture and all that. So the question, as always on this show, is, do we believe it's real? So, Dad, I'll start with you. Do you believe... We'll do the two questions. We'll do one by one. Do you believe werewolves are real? What we talked about and how, in which pop culture contributes to where werewolves
you asked me,
are.
do you think if I think they're real beings?
Yeah.
No. I believe it's hysteria set forth from the masses, from ignorant men who didn't know, and I mean that in the most endearing ways, that these creatures, it was easily explained off that yes, these are werewolves, and then we're going to run with it because they didn't have, they couldn't test them for disease and test them for disorders and stuff like that.
They didn't have Google.
And as time goes on, basically what happens is we figure this stuff out. No, I don't believe that they were real at all.
Mr. West, do you believe werewolves are real?
Negative.
That's it.
Yeah.
All right. Joshua, do you believe, Mr. Roblox, do you believe werewolves are real? Please stop laughing.
I can't with you, Eric, sometimes, I swear. Okay, to answer your question, no, I don't. Not at all. I believe the fact that obviously there are wolves out there, and I think maybe at one point they got, they evolved a little bit to where they got bigger than what they are, nowadays. That could have been a possibility. So maybe that's something that could contribute to it. And also, like we mentioned, the one syndrome. But as far as actual werewolves, no, absolutely not. I do not believe.
I agree. I don't believe werewolves are an actual thing. I think they're just more of mythology at this point, and more for movies and pop culture. And for us to sit there and put in movies to be like, yeah, that would be a good thing to put, as a villain or a mysterious thing that a teen boy does or some shit like that. So vampires, Dad, do you believe vampires are real?
No, I don't. I can't believe anything such like that. Again, to see previous answer, I'm going to think it came down from folklore, based on Vlad the Impaler, starting it off about the drinking the blood stuff, and it just took to a whole nother level. There's never been any proof. There's never been any, nobody ever brought forth, this is a vampire, we killed him with a spike. So no, I don't believe it at all.
It's a steak,
spike, whatever.
Cook it medium rare.
A T-bone. Mr. West, do you believe vampires are real?
I do not. I believe that there are some mental people out there that are just doing some really weird stuff. But no, I don't.
They fucking with shit.
They're fucking with shit.
Mr. Robloxon.
Oh, Robloxon.
Do you believe vampires are real?
Nope. I do agree with Eric about the whole people are doing some vampiric practices. That's always possible. Like we mentioned earlier, people do that. I mean, there's animals that do, suck blood a little bit, or just feast on bodies and don't care if there's blood all over them. They eat. That's perfectly fine. But
I believe that's called the mosquito.
Yeah, and ticks.
Fuck off.
But as an actual vampire, no, I do not believe, sir. Not at all.
I'm actually going to sit there and say I believe the demonic form of vampires are real. I believe the lore of how we said that these people are more of
just bad spirits.
Bad spirits that suck blood and stuff like that. I believe that because I've read about demons that do that and just torture a lot of people by doing that. I could see that being real, but as far as like I come to suck your blood or some shit like that and then bite a pretty girl on the neck, no, those are not real. I'm sorry, Bella, rest in peace, but your form of a vampire, you're not real.
Yeah, but he's that form of vampire, put everything else on the map. Just don't forget that.
Technically, if you want to get technical, is Nosferatu, my friend.
Yes, you're right. You got to pay homage to that. That was a great
Nosferatu.
Great movie.
That movie, actually, if you watch, have you ever seen the original Nosferatu?
I've seen that part in SpongeBob.
Not the SpongeBob. Jesus Christ.
Anyway.
The actual movie is actually pretty terrifying. It's a silent film, but it's actually fucking terrifying.
What was the guy's name who played that? Harold Klass or something like that?
I don't know. Fact Man.
Wasn't he French?
I don't know. Not Nosferatu. Just I don't know.
What, the original actor?
Max something.
I don't know. All I know is that movie and that version of a vampire is actually very terrifying, and it's actually been used a lot in pop culture too. It wasn't just the Bela Lugosi form.
Right.
They took the Bela Lugosi form and the Nosferatu styles, and I think in the Bram Stoker one that had what's his face as the vampire. Fuck, what's his name? Gene, not Gene. God, what's his name? He played in Batman.
Christian Bale?
No, he played in Batman as the chief. God, I have a brain fart
Commissioner?
today. Yeah, Commissioner Gordon.
Well, hold on before I try and answer that. Max Schreck.
Okay.
Was the original Nosferatu character.
Either way, but in Bram Stoker's Dracula,
Gary Oldman,
in that version, they kind of morphed both of them together.
Oh, I love that movie. I love what they did with that movie. I do.
And that's actually a terrifying movie itself.
It is terrifying.
But
all right, Joe, you want to take us out of here?
Yeah, I think, gentlemen, we talked about all we could tonight with these two subjects. Dad, say goodbye.
Take it easy, folks, and just question everything we got to question, folks.
Mr. West, say goodbye.
Goodbye.
Okay, Mr. Robloxon.
Yo, peace out, everybody. See you next time.
And from all of us, good night, everybody. We'll catch you next week. Just remember, question everything.
Konnichiwa, bitches. It's Ryu West speaking. If you want to find out more about the Is This Real podcast, follow us on Facebook at facebook.com/isthisrealpc, or on Twitter at isthisrealpc, or on Instagram at isthisrealpodcast, all one word.